Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a bit different, focusing entirely on the AI news, the strategic moves, the research updates, all from just one single day, October 21st, 2025. Our goal here is really to cut through all that noise, give you the important stuff across products, policy, research, just a clear professional snapshot of, where the field's actually moving.
It was quite a day. I mean, really defined by a couple of big strategic themes, I think. First, you saw AI trying to move way beyond just the chatbot window, aiming to control the whole user interface. And second, this growing, unavoidable focus on the physical side of things, the infrastructure, the ethics, the constraints of actually scaling AI. We're going to try and connect those dots for you.
Okay, let's unpack this then, starting with probably the boldest move.
Yeah.
The grab for the web browser itself.
Yeah.
OpenAI launched ChatGPT Atlas. It's their new web browser, initially out on macOS for all ChatGPT users, free, plus, pro, go, everyone.
Right.
And this isn't just like Chrome with a ChatGPT button tacked on, is it? It feels much more integrated.
Oh, absolutely. It's engineered with ChatGPT right at the core. The significance here is transforming the browser into an AI assistant. You mentioned the key features, that built-in memory, so it remembers your browsing context across sessions, which is huge. And then there's the agent mode. This is the really ambitious part, automating multi-step tasks. Think researching something complex, booking appointments, all without ever leaving the web page you're on.
So it's watching everything you do within that browser environment.
Exactly. Every click, every half-finished thought in a search bar, every tab switch. That real-time, messy, behavioral data, it's incredibly valuable for training these agents compared to just, clean chat logs.
Oh, okay.
That agent mode ensures OpenAI captures the most detailed, high-intent user signals. It's a direct shot at Google Chrome, really. A challenge for dominance over that desktop experience.
A really aggressive move to capture user context, but on the flip side, they took a hit somewhere else, didn't they? That clash with Meta over WhatsApp.
Yeah, that news dropped too. ChatGPT services are being kicked off WhatsApp after January 15th, 2026. WhatsApp is changing its policies.
And OpenAI quickly told users, hey, link your WhatsApp history to your main ChatGPT account if you want to keep that context.
Right, and this just highlights how vulnerable AI services are when they depend heavily on these third-party platforms for distribution.
Yeah.
You're kind of at their mercy.
So Meta's just clearing the path for its own AI.
Pretty much. Meta clearly wants its own general-purpose AI, Meta AI, to be the main chatbot on WhatsApp. They're consolidating control.
You have to wonder, though, did OpenAI not see this coming? I mean, relying on a competitor's platform always feels risky. Should they have built their own thing sooner?
Well, it's always a trade-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
They went for rapid growth and distribution early on, using WhatsApp's massive user base. Now they're dealing with the platform dependence fallout. It's sort of the cost of scaling that fast, maybe.
Okay. So interface wars, platform risks. And that brings us neatly to the whole trust issue, the integrity problem. That EBU and BBC study on AI assistants answering news questions landed right in the middle of all this product excitement. And the results were, well, pretty stark.
Stark is a good word. They looked at 3,000 responses across the major assistants in 14 languages. And the headline finding, 45% of those AI responses had at least one significant error.
45%. And 81% had some kind of problem, right?
Yeah.
Factual errors, bad sourcing.
Exactly. It's a huge number. And the example they gave, the one about an assistant saying Pope Francis was still the current pope, months after he'd actually passed away.
Yeah, that one really stood out. It seems like such a basic, verifiable fact. Why is that kind of error so worrying when we're talking about these powerful new AI agents, like in Atlas?
Because it shows a deeper failure mechanism than just a simple mistake or a typo. It suggests the AI might be working off outdated or badly synthesized training data for fundamental knowledge. So if you're trusting an agent mode AI to do complex research, say, for financial decisions or health information, and it can't even get a widely reported static fact like that right, well, that's a massive trust issue.
Right. How can you rely on it for complex real-time tasks if the foundation is shaky?
Precisely. The promise of autonomy in Atlas clashes directly with this demonstrated unreliability. That 45% error rate isn't just embarrassing, it's potentially dangerous when you automate tasks based on it.
Okay, so huge questions around trust and accuracy. Let's shift gears a bit to the scaling side, the actual science and engineering. We saw some breakthroughs aimed at handling more context more reliably. That Chinese DeepSeek OCR model, for instance.
Yes, DeepSeek. They released this open source 3 billion parameter vision language model. And the clever part is how it uses visual text compression.
It treats text like images. How does that work?
Essentially, yeah. It processes large blocks of text as if they were images to compress them before the language model part kicks in. And the results are pretty remarkable. They're seeing 7x to 20x token compression.
7 to 20 times compression. What does that mean in practice? Like for context windows?
It means potentially enormous context windows. They're talking tens of millions of tokens. Think about that. They estimate a single NVIDIA A100 GPU could process over 200,000 pages of text per day using this method.
Wow. Okay, so that could radically change the economics for companies dealing with massive amounts of documents, right? Legal, research.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could slash the processing time and, crucially, the inference cost of dealing with that huge context, which is currently a major expense and bottleneck for large language models. It's a really innovative approach.
But that push for more capacity runs right into physical limits. We also saw news about the infrastructure reality hitting hard. Memory chip prices, DDR5, DRAM, they're surging.
Yeah, the conventional memory market is getting squeezed. AI is driving such huge demand for high bandwidth memory, HBM, which is vital for training these massive models.
But manufacturers are prioritizing HBM production.
Exactly. They're shifting production capacity to HBM, which leaves less for the standard DDR5 and DRAM needed in, well, almost everything else. So shortages and price hikes for regular memory, it shows the physical bottleneck very clearly.
Which makes that Hitachi and OpenAI strategic partnership announcement make a lot more sense in context.
It does. And crucially, they weren't just talking about software. Their focus is squarely on the physical constraints, energy and cooling.
Right. They're planning to develop next-gen AI data centers.
Yeah.
Sustainable, lower power.
Modular designs integrating OpenAI's models into Hitachi's own Lumada platform. It's a direct acknowledgement that you can't scale AI to, billions of users without fundamentally tackling the massive energy draw first.
And investors are clearly betting that these problems can be solved. The VC funding numbers were pretty staggering. AI startups took 51% of all global VC funding year-to-date in 2025.
51%. It's a historic shift. Though it's worth noting the money's getting concentrated, fewer deals, but much, much larger ones.
Any specific examples that stood out from that day?
Well, two big ones illustrated the focus. Fallout AI raised $250 million at a valuation over $4 billion. Their whole game is multimodal AI infrastructure, building the plumbing needed to support this scale.
Okay, infrastructure play.
And then the other one, maybe more forward-looking, Sesame. It was founded by some ex-Oculus people. They also raised $250 million.
For what? Another model?
No, for a voice-driven personal AI assistant built into lightweight smart glasses. It's a massive bet that wearable AI, that ambient interface, is the next big thing. $250 million says they think glasses are the future interface, not just phones or browsers.
Interesting. Okay, so infrastructure investment. Let's talk about people, the workforce impact. We got that EU Joint Research Center survey data.
Right. Pretty significant findings there, too. Across the 27 EU member states, 30% of workers are now using AI tools in their daily jobs. Mostly LLM chatbots, especially for writing tasks.
1 in 3 workers already. That adoption is incredibly fast.
It really is.
Yeah.
And while the report mentions productivity gains, it also flagged something else important. 37% of those workers, over a third, are being monitored by their employers for time or activity.
So the rise of AI in the workplace is happening alongside more algorithmic management.
Exactly. Productivity bumps up against privacy concerns and questions about worker oversight.
Yeah.
That tension is definitely going to shape future labor regulations in the EU. You can be sure of that.
And addressing the skills gap needed for all this is becoming critical. Google made a huge move there, launching Google Skills.
Yeah, big platform consolidating almost 3,000 courses, credentials, mostly in AI and related tech fields.
Yeah.
Trying to address that sort of intellectual skills gap.
But they did something else too, didn't they? Something more physical.
They did. And this was maybe the more insightful part, connecting back to the infrastructure bottleneck we talked about. Google.org, their philanthropic arm, is funding the Electrical Training Alliance, the ETA.
To train electricians.
Tens of thousands, 100,000 electricians and 30,000 new apprentices over 5 years.
Okay, why electricians specifically? That seems quite targeted.
Because you can't build and run this massive AI infrastructure, all those new data centers, the grid upgrades needed to power them without a huge number of highly skilled electricians. It's a direct labor bottleneck for the entire AI boom.
So it connects directly back to the Hitachi OpenAI data center plans and the HBM shortages. You need the power infrastructure and you need the people to build and maintain it.
Precisely. It closes that loop. It's not just about software engineers. It's about the physical world constraints.
And speaking of adoption, we saw a big validation from the enterprise side with Netflix. They basically said they're all in on generative AI.
hmm But they were careful with their messaging, weren't they?
That,
Stressing it's a tool to help artists work better, faster. Augmentation, not replacement.
did they give concrete examples?
Yeah, they did. They mentioned using generative AI in post-production for de-aging actors, specifically in Happy Gilmore 2.
Okay, that makes sense.
And also using it in pre-production for visualizing things like wardrobes and sets for an upcoming film called Billionaire's Bunker. So it's moving beyond just experimental use into practical value-adding tools in major productions.
Right, real integration. Okay, last piece, governance and policy. The UK government proposed something called the AI Growth Lab. What is that exactly?
It's essentially a regulatory sandbox. Think of it as a supervised environment where the usual rules might be temporarily tweaked or relaxed a bit.
To let companies test things out?
Exactly. The idea is to let companies test and deploy innovative AI products more quickly, especially in public services like the NHS or for things like planning approvals, but still within a monitored framework. It's a pro-innovation approach, trying to speed up adoption while managing risks.
Okay, so wrapping up this whirlwind day, October 21st. If you look at the big picture, it feels like three major currents were flowing, right? First, this intense battle to own the AI interface, where the user actually interacts with AI, whether it's the browser like Atlas or maybe wearables like Sesame.
Yep, the interface war.
Second, the scientific race to handle massive amounts of context efficiently, like we saw with DeepSeek OCR, to make these AIs more knowledgeable and capable.
The contest challenge.
And third, this urgent global scramble to build the actual workforce, like those electricians and the governance frameworks like the UK sandbox needed to physically support and manage all this growth.
Absolutely. And if you connect those pieces, the really critical thing to watch, I think, is the tension. The tension between these incredibly ambitious new products, these agent modes like Atlas promising autonomous action,
Right.
and the simultaneous stark reality check from studies like the EBUBC one showing fundamental reliability issues, that 45% significant error rate. That gap between the promise and the current performance, that's the razor's edge the industry is walking right now.
Yeah. Which leaves us, and you, with a final thought to chew on. As we see these powerful, autonomous AI agents starting to enter our workplaces, our browsers, maybe even our glasses, but we also know they have significant error rates even on basic information. What kind of safety checks, what kind of transparency protocols do you think companies absolutely need to demand before they hand over important automated decisions to these AI agents?